Every single culture has its ghost stories. They're the tales you tell in the dark, in hushed voices, the ones that make the shadows in your room seem just a little bit longer, a little more alive.
It's such a familiar scene, isn't it? Huddled around a campfire or just sitting in a dark room with friends trying to scare each other with stories about ghouls and ghosts. We do it for that little thrill, that jolt of fear that comes with a really good story.
But some legends, they don't get under your skin with a cheap jump scare. Their horror comes from a single, quiet detail. Something that just feels fundamentally wrong. A detail that crawls into your brain and just stays there.
So, let's get right into it. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most chilling and fascinating figures in all of South and Southeast Asian folklore, the Churel.
Okay, so what is a Churel exactly? Well, at its core, she's a type of female ghost, what folklorists call a revenant, something that's returned from the dead. The legend says she's the spirit of a woman who died unpurified, which means her life was unresolved, cut short, or ended unjustly. And all that negative energy? It brings her back with a serious grudge.
Now, the Churel's #1 weapon is deception. She's a shapeshifter. To the world, she can appear as an incredibly beautiful woman, someone who can charm and lure in any unsuspecting man. But that's just a mask. Her true form is absolute nightmare fuel, a hideous creature with wild hair, a long black tongue, and hands like claws. The transformation is just terrifying.
But of all her horrifying features, one thing stands out. It's her signature. It's the one creepy detail that gives her away if you're brave enough to look down. Her feet are on backward. Her heels face forward and her toes point behind her. Just think about that for a second. You see her footprints in the dirt and you think she's walking away from you, when really she's coming right for you.
But here's the thing. A creature filled with this much rage doesn't just appear out of thin air. The story of the Churel is, when you really get down to it, a tragedy. To understand the monster, you have to first understand the woman she used to be.
See, the folklore is really specific about this. A woman becomes a Churel after dying in some tragic, unjust way, often during childbirth while she was pregnant or even from abuse at the hands of her family. She dies with her life unfulfilled, full of pain and a sense of profound injustice. And that powerful, raw emotion is what fuels her return. She isn't a monster by choice, she's a monster created by her own suffering. So, once this tragic spirit is back, what does she do? What's her mission? Let's break down her MO and figure out what really drives her.
Her playbook is chillingly simple and effective. She goes after men, usually starting with the male relatives who might have caused her pain in life. She uses her beauty to lure them into lonely places like crossroads or cemeteries. But her goal isn't just to kill them, it's to drain them, to suck out their blood, their youth, their very life force, until they're left as these old, withered husks. It's like she's stealing back the vitality that was stolen from her. And this really gets to the heart of her motivation. This isn't just random violence. According to the stories, she's driven by this deep, gnawing hunger from a life that was cut short. It's a hunger for revenge, yeah, but also for all the life experiences she never got to have. That makes her an unbelievably relentless and dangerous predator.
Okay, so when you have a threat this terrifying, you can bet that people came up with a survival guide. The folklore is filled with these incredibly detailed rituals, not just for defending yourself, but for making sure the Churel can never even rise from her grave to begin with.
And the methods for stopping a Churel are, well, they're pretty intense. Some were designed to just slow her down. For example, people would scatter thousands of tiny mustard seeds around the grave. The belief was that the spirit would be magically compelled to stop and pick up every single one, a task that would hopefully keep her busy until sunrise when her powers would fade. Other methods were way more direct and, frankly, pretty brutal. We're talking about burying the body face down to confuse her, piling thorns on the grave to trap her, or even nailing her fingers and toes to the coffin to physically hold the corpse down. It just shows how real and how deep this fear truly was.
Now, you might think a story like this, rooted in ancient fears, would kind of fade away in the modern world. But you'd be wrong. The Churel is arguably more alive today than she's ever been, thriving around our new digital campfires.
The Churel has really evolved with the times. She started as a village ghost, a story whispered in the dark. Then she made her way into literature, in stories by famous writers like Rudyard Kipling.
And now, she's an absolute horror icon online, starring in YouTube scary stories, radio dramas, and of course, in major films. She just keeps getting rediscovered.
And maybe the most powerful modern reinvention is the 2020 Netflix movie Bulbul. This wasn't just another horror flick. It took the entire Churel legend and flipped it on its head, using it to tell a powerful story about patriarchal violence and female rage.
And this really highlights a fascinating shift. The ancient Churel was a monster, plain and simple. She was a figure of pure terror you needed to avoid at all costs. But the modern Churel, in stories like Bulbul, is way more complicated. She's been reframed as an avenger, a symbol of righteous anger against the men who harmed her. The monster has become something of an anti-hero.
So that leaves us with this final question. Is the woman with the backward feet just a monster from an old scary story? Or is she a tragic victim, a product of immense pain, whose story has evolved into this powerful and, yeah, terrifying symbol of justice? I guess the answer really depends on who's telling her story.